Hello, CSFL. We are back today with episode 4 of the regular podcast, videocast on the league forum. Today, I'm joined by a new guest to the show. First time in. Hopefully not the first and last time. Hopefully the first of many. I'm joined by the GM of the Seahawks, Gilbert. How are you doing, Gilbert? Are you good today? We had a bit of trouble getting in, but I think we're sorted now.
Yeah, we're all sorted. We're all good. So
We're all
if you
sorted.
can hear, yep.
And this is probably the first video cast that we've done in the CSFL, probably with the biggest distance, because obviously I'm based in Europe and you're based down in Australia, aren't you? So using all corners of the globe for this episode, I think.
Yep. Yeah, that's all good. Early morning here, 6 a.m. I think.
Yeah, lovely. I hope you got a cup of coffee to go through this, because otherwise you're going to be yawning at the start of this, I think. But
Oh yeah, well it's not too bad. So
no,
I'm doing all right.
Good. Well, it's great to have you on. And of course, as a first time on, we're going to start and talk a little bit about yourself and the Seahawks in general and how the season's going. And it's going pretty well for you guys at the minute, but we'll talk a little bit more in general. So I guess, Gilbert, first thing is, the CSFL, is this your first venture into American football sort of fantasy leagues, or have you been in others, or how did you sort of get to this stage?
Yeah, I'm actually currently in another one. I've been basically learning on the go because based in Australia, you don't get too much American football here unless you have pay TV.
Yeah.
But yeah, we sometimes do get it, like a couple of games a week or something like that. It's I think Seahawks is actually not my team. The Patriots are. So
Interesting.
and I go, yeah, a bit interesting. So I kind of garnered that interest, I think, would have been like 14, 15 years ago when they showed the Super Bowl, Rams and Patriots. So I kind of garnered that interest right there. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I still keep tabs on like the Patriots from time to time, watch their games, also other teams as well. So
yeah, there's a lot. We have a lot of Patriots fans in this league. I have to say, it's like almost if the Patriots forum community have decided to come and join this league, because we've got obviously yourself, we've got Rizzo, who is the Patriots GM in our league, and then obviously in the Bills, we've got GM is as a Patriots fan as well, and there's quite a few of you guys sort of mulling around. So obviously being from Australia, though, I imagine Aussie rules, I would guess, and rugby are probably the two dominant sort of similar sports. So I guess. How on earth did you go from to sort of pick up the NFL? You said it was obviously on TV a little bit, and you started following it. But what sort of made you sort of draw your interest away from the traditional sort of couple of sports that are similar to basically watching some guys in helmets hit each other around?
I guess I like the physical. Well, obviously the physicality being in Aussie rules.
Yeah.
Rugby, but at the same time, strategy, tactics wise, because I think more so in the AFL or the Aussie rules or rugby, there's a bit of tactics and strategy going on. And I guess it's the same thing with American football. So I kind of like the strategy, tactics, what coaches do, how they, in Australia, we call it list manage.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing as roster management. So in that way, why do you cut players? Why did you bring players in? That sort of stuff. How do you suit your systems? So yeah, the strategy-wise, tactics-wise, as well as the physicality is probably got my interest.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, I think with the time zones and stuff, I imagine it's quite difficult to pick up the games and things. Obviously, you said it's 6 a.m. there at the moment, and I think the games have just started to kick off in America now. So is there a lot of stuff you guys tend to watch on replay, or are you a dedicated fan who gets up on a Sunday, or it might be Monday actually for you, in the morning to catch the games?
Yeah. So some of the games that they stream on TV is starts at 3,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they do 3 or 4 games a week. So obviously it changes from week to week, and
Yeah.
they do the majority of the games Monday here, Sunday over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's only 3 or 4 games, but the rest you have to like go and watch on YouTube
Mm.
or the website itself to get the highlights. But yeah, I mean, well, unless you've got AFL, not AFL Game Pass, NFL Game Pass.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, so obviously NFL fan at heart and a Patriots fan at heart, and you know I'll have to forgive you for being a Patriots fan because we've got too many of them. But you know, obviously you couldn't take the Patriots in our league because our commissioner decided to take them, unfortunately. So you kind of got stuck with the Seahawks. And forgive me, I can't remember whether you joined at the initial start or partway through, or was it just a case of Seahawks were the only team left, or did you make a conscious decision to pick them up?
So I joined at the start. I think a week or two before it actually started.
Okay, yeah,
Um, yeah, yeah. I looked at their roster before I started, and I said it's a solid-looking roster. Um, yeah, I think I'm more the case of knowing the players. So where's this guy? Eric Thomas, because he's on another team now, isn't he? Yeah, Earl Thomas.
yeah, yeah,
Earl Thomas, I know he's a very good, I think he's a defensive back, linebacker. Hang on, I'm just flicking through him. Yeah, he's a good safety. Dion Branch, a good wide receiver. Truffin, good cornerback. So I had the solid blocks there, and I knew if I had the solid blocks at safety, cornerback, as well as defensive tackle, linebacker, and defensive end, I knew had something to work with.
mm.
Um, yeah, I haven't got a great offense. Obviously, Matt Hasselbeck is solid, but age-wise, it's going down. Yeah, so I had to think of how I'm gonna approach these Seahawks strategy tactics-wise.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting one. So I'm just having a little flick through now. The because what I like to do at the minute is compare, because a lot of the rosters were from start and it's the first season, to kind of look at the actual season and compare how teams got on and where they finished. And I mean, in comparison, I mean you may have looked at it, but the Seahawks finished, I believe, 7-9 in real life with this similar roster.
They
And
did.
you've been flying out of the gate this year. I mean, 11-4. I mean, you're in a dominant position. Looking obviously at playoffs now, you're kind of locked in there, and you know you could cause a couple of upsets, and you know you're only a couple of games away from winning the whole thing. And I think that's kind of a shock and a great sense of a great season that you've had to start off the league with, really. And interested to get your thoughts, because I don't think you know like you said, the roster construction is fairly same as it was, but you obviously seem to be doing really well in terms of getting performance out of these guys. Is it a case of you've played the game before joining here, or you're learning and developing as you go along and finding things that work for this team?
I think it's a combination of learning and the building blocks. So I think my defense is much more stronger than the offense
Mm-hmm.
by comparison. So I've done a lot of like defensive game planning. So yeah, I think it's just more about. Actually, I'm quite surprised that they've actually done well. I didn't expect to be 11-4. I thought probably below 500.
Mm.
Yeah, so I'm actually quite surprised because I don't have as much high end players as say the Patriots do or
No,
Green
no,
Bay do,
not at all. Yeah, yeah,
and just looking at the I mean defensive wise, like I've been it's solid, but offense wise, I'm actually quite surprised as well. Like I'm scoring over 20 points per game, and that's with Matt Hasselbeck. And in real life, Matt Hasselbeck is not, well, he's solid but not great. But in this game, he seems to be solid. But I must be doing something right in against the offense, shooting here.
Yeah.
And I think it changes from game to game for me as well. Like offense wise, because my running core is actually not that strong, to be honest, as well. So
No, I mean when I was looking at it, it's a team that is pretty deep, but it's not really got the stars like you said.
Yeah.
And I mean the thing that stood out for me in terms of if I were to say where you've got real good talent and probably better talent than a lot of the league, is probably in that sort of defense and linebacker position. I think you've got a couple of 3 or 4 really good players in there, which I think is a huge driving force behind your defense. And I'm sure the strategies you've been deploying has been utilizing them a lot. But on offense, I think the thing that really surprised me was Hasselbeck. So, I mean, I would say, obviously I'm the Lions in the league, and I would say Stafford is a better QB than Hasselbeck, even ratings wise. But I mean, you compare their performances, and Stafford is terrible in comparison to Hasselbeck. So, I mean, 11 games played, 5 interceptions, a rating of 88 is fantastic for Hasselbeck when you look at his ratings. So, whatever you're doing, utilizing him perfectly at the moment, and it's paying dividends in terms of your standings and how you're going. I mean, you obviously a playoff team now. There's no question that at all anymore. No one's going to catch you anymore in the National West. I guess next thing for me to sort of follow on and ask is in terms of making some noise in the NFC. I mean, do you fancy yourselves against some of the teams in there, the Giants, the Saints, and the Packers, and the Bears will probably be around there, and we'll talk a little bit about the other wild card later. But there's some really good teams in that NFC. And do you think you've got the capability to cause a couple of upsets to get through?
Yeah, well, my past performance says that I played the Patriots early in the season. I only lost by 3. So I've got the form there to test the big boys. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to playing the Packers. Actually, I reckon that.
I think everyone's looking forward to playing the Packers. They are the Patriots of the NFC, aren't they? Really,
they are. I'll be, if I can make it through. Like I have to finish top 2, so I can at least get that bye.
Yeah.
If I can finish top 2, then I'll be happy, and then hopefully win that first playoff game, and then hopefully play the Packers or the Bears, obviously. But yeah, it's very interesting. Like, but in saying that, I'll just be happy to play anyone actually. Like, if it's the Packers or the Bears or those other teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great season for you, regardless, and I think it kind of goes to show that you don't necessarily need proper elite talent everywhere to cause a an upset, cause a record that's better than historic records, and to get in there. So it's a if you've got a good strategy and you work game to game and utilize the best of what you've got, you can cause you can become a contender fairly straightforward, I think. So for me, the Seahawks are the interesting one this year, because when you look at all the other elite teams, you look at their players and you're like, oh, okay, they've got a great quarterback, they've got a great running back and receivers, their offense is amazing, or their defense, they've got great players everywhere. And the Seahawks haven't got that sort of elite talent, but you've managed to utilize them so well, and fantastic to see that. And it's great hope for someone like me where I haven't got that sort of talent, that next year might be my year, even though I'm 4-10 at the minute. But so that's great to see, and I'm sure you'll make some noise in the playoffs, and a couple more games towards the end of the season. Are you going to look to rest guys now, or are you still looking to get that additional win under your belt?
Well, actually, I've got a buy at the end of the season, so I think it's even better.
True.
In,
I just noticed that. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm just gonna, if I get 12 wins, then yeah, I'll be happy with that. And then a buy, which rests my players. Actually, I think that actually helps me a little bit because just looking at the injuries I've got here, I mean, I'll probably get Whitehurst back this game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I might start him. Hasselbeck will definitely come back in, and then Hamilton will probably come back in the playoffs sometime. So I'll be clean full. I'll be full health, so no injuries whatsoever. So
No, which is puts you in great shape for the playoffs, absolutely. And
yeah,
I'm sure it's going to be an exciting one. And I'll keep an eye on the Seahawks and see how you guys get on against some of the other big guns in the NFC. And that's just great. But obviously, we're not here just to talk about the Seahawks for 40 minutes. We're here to talk about other things as well. So,
yep.
Obviously, one of the things I wanted to talk about being near playoffs now, a couple of games away, is to have a little talk and try and break down the wild card race in both conferences, really, because it's a really interesting race in both, actually. And with 2 games left, anything can really happen still, which is great for the CSFL in its first season. But let's talk about it. So, should we stick with the NFC to begin with, Gilbert, and talk about that? So, I guess if we take off obviously the playoff teams, and I'm going to take the Chicago Bears out of this as well because they're through. Let's be honest, they're going to be a wild card. But you look at the other teams, and I'm just going to read them out to you. So you've got Atlanta at 8-6, Dallas at 8-6, San Francisco at 7-7, and then you've kind of got Arizona, who I think are probably out of it now at 6-8 after this sim that happened today. Probably just out of the running. So you kind of got 3 teams, I think, who are within, a great shout of getting into the playoffs. Out of those teams, for you, I mean, Atlanta and Dallas got a game up on the 49ers. Who do you think is going to come out on this in the end? Which team do you think is going to nudge through those 2 wins that they need just to push them into that wild card spot?
I think Dallas might actually. I think Dallas has got a well, considering they lost the last 2 games and they got the next 2 games is all away from home.
Yeah,
but I still have confidence in their roster that they can actually get through or sneak through. Like you got Tony Romo, they're a quarterback, and he's solid as anything. And as I said, their roster's really, really consistent and solid throughout, especially the receiving core with Des Bryant, Reese Williams, I think he is. Click on him.
Yeah, so they've got in terms of the receivers that they've got obviously Bryant, Holly. In terms of probably the big ones, they've got Williams, as you mentioned. Bryant and Austin are probably their main options there.
Yeah, I reckon the offense is there to score enough points against the other teams. So my tip would be actually Dallas to go through.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I looked at this, Dallas was the one that I had down as probably they'll get it in the end. I mean, even though their 2 games are on the road, their 2 games are against the Chiefs and the Eagles, 2 teams that I don't think have got a lot necessarily to play for now. So 2 teams that you would expect Dallas to win usually, even if it's on the road.
Yep.
I think the worrying thing for Dallas is that they've just had 2 straight losses against it's 2 teams that are probably going to be playoff teams. I mean, the Rams and the Giants, but two losses on the bounce always gives you some question marks. I guess looking at Atlanta, so the other team that's 8-6, the thing that is interesting about them is they've obviously won 3 on the bounce now. They're in great form. They've got the Bengals next to they probably should beat, and then they've got the Ravens, which will probably be their toughest game to end the season. Yeah. It's close to call, but yeah, I'm probably with you. I probably think Dallas will come out on top in this.
Yeah. I think what evens it out is actually both teams are on the road, and
They
I
are,
think that
yeah.
evens it out. And I think if one of them can win at least one, then I think they'll be through. One of them will be through. But I think, yeah, I'll stick with what I said earlier that Dallas will, because they got the talent there. They definitely have the talent to beat the next two teams. And yeah, it's it's very interesting, this wildcard race. Like,
It
very
is,
interesting,
yeah.
which is good. I mean, um, it's actually surprising that we got so many still teams in it at this final stage. So
Yeah, I mean,
it shows how the competition is really even as well.
it does. It really shows that. And I mean, just a shout out to the 49ers, who probably are just out of it now, I think, unless Atlanta and Dallas have a major slip up and lose their last two games. But just, I mean, they've got the Dolphins next, who we're going to talk about in a minute, I think, anyway. But they're not a pushover anymore, the Dolphins, for some miraculous reason. I have no idea what the GM has done there, but he's turned them around. And then the Cardinals, who are a team that are 6 and 8, probably have a point to prove, I think, towards the end of the season. That I think at the start of the season, they probably were thinking they should be in the playoff wildcard hunt, and they've kind of just dropped short. So they'll want to probably stick it to San Francisco in their own division as well. So, you know, they're probably slightly out of it, but I think they deserve a lot of credit, the 49ers, in terms of how their season has played out. They started really well and have probably faded away a little bit too much now. But yeah, I mean, so I think we're pretty set with the NFC. I think we're both saying Dallas. I don't think. I mean, the Falcons. Yeah, it's gonna be close, but yeah, I think I'm with you. I think Dallas just based on talent, I think, more than anything.
Yeah, talent alone can speak for itself in any given situation, especially on the offense. Like, yeah, especially with Romo. I think having Romo there can make a difference for Dallas. So, yeah, but as I said, things can change, and that's the best thing about this league, that anyone can beat anyone on a given day. Like with Arizona, they beat us early in the season, 12-3. So, I mean, I think less talented teams can actually beat fully loaded teams. So, yeah, but in saying that, yeah, I reckon Dallas will be too strong in the next two games for me.
Okay, yeah, you heard it here first then. Dallas are going to be the wild card entry in the NFC along with the Bears probably. So let's move on to the AFC, which I think when I looked at these, the AFC was the one that is the most interesting, I think, still before the end of the season. You've obviously got the likes of who am I looking at? So you haven't got a definitive team who's probably going to go through here. I mean, you could probably say the Titans are the one that I think are already through. They're 8 and 6. They're comfortable now, I think. But when you look at the other ones below that, let me just put it this way: they're all 7 and 7, right? 3 of them are in the same division, and then you've got the Ravens. So you've got the Miami Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills, the New York Jets, and then the Baltimore Ravens. They're the 4 teams, sorry, that are 7 and 7, and it's all so still to play for. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, I remember we were talking on this show a few weeks ago on the last episode about the Bills challenging the Patriots, and they've just completely fallen away. And Miami at the trade deadline traded probably one of their better players, and have just all of a sudden just galvanized and gone on this massive run. It's been incredible. I mean, of these 4 teams, which one for you is the one that stands out that you think either question why they're there or question whether they should have already been a wild card ages ago? And which one's sort of sticking out for you initially at the moment?
Oh, it's so hard. Like, I'm actually quite surprised with Miami and Buffalo at the start of the season. This is going to be tight. I expect Baltimore to get wildcard as well. I'm surprised they're 7 and 7 actually.
I mean, they've just had their GM leave as well, so they will not have any human strategy set for the remaining 2 games for them, which I think is probably going to be enough to knock them out of the race, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And they've got Carolina and Atlanta next. So I would expect Ravens to beat Carolina.
Yeah.
Should, in saying that, even though they're computer controlled. Atlanta will be toss of the coin.
And that could be a must-win game for Atlanta as well. In their race.
So that's going to be a really good game. That's going to be a really good game against the AI versus a human. Miami got San Francisco, which is a tough game, 50-50 there.
Let me put it this way to you. Miami, if they'd have beaten the Bills this last sim, like they did in week 13, they probably would have already been a wild card. They'd have been 8-6. How crazy is that comparing where they started? I mean, we were looking at them around about week sort of 6 or 7, and they were below 0.500. They went on a crazy run. They beat the Rams, the Jets, and the Patriots 3 straight weeks.
Yep.
Incredible.
They did. They actually, if they could beat San Francisco, I reckon they could be nearly in. I reckon. Because there's a lot of 50-50 games here. And I think this is going to be a much more closer race than NFC. Much more. A lot of 50-50 games here. That anyone can beat anyone. And
it's crazy.
Even,
I mean,
yeah. I'm just
looking
at Bills.
Just very quickly. Yeah, the Bills have got to play the Patriots in their last game and the Rams.
Yeah.
Right. So that's 2 crazy games they've got to try and win. The Jets have got the Browns, and I can't remember who the last one is. Let me check. They've got to play yourself and the Browns. So, and like you said, you're not going to be resting players for that game in week 16. So, I mean, crazy stuff that could happen. I mean, do the Patriots rest players for that last game of the season, just shut everyone down, and that gives the Bills a leg back in? I mean, to the Rams could easily just shut guys down now at the minute if they wanted to.
Yeah. If I was Rizzo, I would actually rest players in the last game, to be honest, just in case you pick up that injury. So quite easily, the Bills. Yeah, the Bills could actually
be a B-side.
Yeah, could basically. There's a lot of 50-50 games in this conference. To be honest, anyone could beat anyone on a given day.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just. I mean, looking at the matchups on paper, okay, so I would have said the Miami could easily go 2-0 here. I think they could beat the 49ers and beat the Bengals, and that'd probably be enough. Which is being fantastic season comparing where they were and what they've traded away, and it's so close. I mean, I don't know where to go with this. I mean, even on talent, you'd say probably in talent-wise, the Bills and the Jets are probably the more talented of the 3 teams at the moment. But
I agree with that.
I'm splitting hairs with this. I really am. I don't have an out through winner with this one. Whereas, the other side of the conference, I had Dallas penned down. I mean, I think this could go down to the very last game of the season.
Oh yeah, quite easily. And I think it's going to come down to the playoff teams / non-playoff teams, whether they're going to rest players or something like that. And this is going to cut. I think this is going to be actually really good. That the AFC is going to be really, really good, and I wouldn't mind seeing actually Miami get in. If you want a fairy tale story.
Yeah. If you want a complete underdog in the CSFL, a team that was not expected to make the playoffs this year at all, was expected to basically win probably about 3 or 4 games, I think, at the beginning. The comeback they've had and the teams they've beaten, it's been fantastic. I mean, it's more of a a difficult sword to swallow for the Bills and the Jets, who have made moves to improve this season. I mean, we mentioned the Bills obviously started really strong and kind of started to fade away, but they've picked up a couple of wins just in the past two sims. I mean, the Jets have sort of been a bit of a quirky team all season, haven't they? Really, they've been a team that, on paper, I felt have been a good team, but just haven't managed to get it together so far, and sort of plodding along at 0.500.
Yeah, I think if the Jets can actually get their stuff together, they're actually a really good team. A really, really good team. They got a solid QB, solid running core. Again, solid offensive line and receiving core. Got a couple of receivers there in tight end and wide receiver that are really solid. If the Jets can actually get their act together, they can actually make a wild card as well. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised as well that the Jets get in as well. I mean, it's going to be definitely coming from that AFC East, that wild card.
Yeah. I mean, I guess are you with me with the fact that I think the Titans have just done enough now. I think they'll win one of their last two games, and just they'll be safe. Do you kind of agree with that, or do you think that even they're possibly under threat, even though they've got that sort of couple of game cushion?
I think Tennessee should make it. Yeah, I agree with that one. Yeah, they won the last 3 games. I'm just looking at they got the last 4 games all away from home, and they won 2 of them. So yeah they should make it.
They got to play the Raiders. I mean, they should beat the Raiders in the last game, I think. Which, if they need to win that, I think that'll be enough. Okay, so we're taking the Titans out. I both agree with that. I think we're both kind of saying that the Ravens are done. I think no GM has probably not done them a favor, really.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, your first episode, it's not going to be a good first episode unless I make you make a gutsy call. So I'm going to force you down here. Of Miami, Buffalo, or the Jets, New York Jets, which team, your prediction, which team do you see being the final wild card entry in the AFC?
Oh, I love an underdog. So I'm saying the Dolphins.
You're saying the Dolphins? Oh, wow. Yeah. The Cinderella story is going to continue if Gilbert is right. That's crazy. Yeah. I'm not going to agree with you, though. I'm not going to agree with you. I think the Cinderella story ends now, and I think the clock has struck midnight, and I think they're going to fall away. I think they're going to, they've had a great run towards the end of this half of the season, but I think they're just going to come up short. I think they're going to have some problems. They're going to not get the games that wins they need. And for me, I think the team that's going to make it through is the new, I'm going to say it, the New York Jets. And Dylan, the GM, if you're listening, you're going to be screaming and shouting because you're going to be like, I never thought he would say the New York Jets, because I'm not a massive fan of the New York Jets in terms of them in general, really. But so I guess the reason I'm going to say it, though, is I think 2 reasons. I think they've got to play the Browns, and let's be honest, they're playing the Browns. They're going to win. I mean, their B team could beat the Browns this year. No offense to the GM, he knows that they're in a tough situation. And I think, if I'm honest, I think that's going to be enough. Even if they don't beat you, Gilbert, I think that's going to be enough for them. I think that 1 win is going to be it, because I think the Bills, given how they're doing, I think that they're going to lose to the Patriots. I think, even if the Patriots might rest guys, but let's be honest, I can't assume that. So I'm going to take that as a loss. And then they've got to play the Rams, who are 5-9. But I mean, the Rams, they might beat them, they might not. But I think the Bills are probably going to fall short. And I think, given the Jets have made a gutsy call to pick up Brett Favre and a gamble to go for it, it's only right that I give them the benefit of the doubt. I think between the 2 of them, they're going to be close, but I think I'm going to give it to the team that made the gutsy trade. So That's how I've separated it. There's no logic in that whatsoever, apart from the fact that the Jets made a massive move and have tried to go for it. And some CSFL god, if they're listening, might play that in their favour. But you're right though; it's so close, and
I love it. I love it actually.
but given it's so close, it's great. And given that you said Miami, I've said the Jets. It's going to be the Bills who are going to go through, isn't it?
Exactly.
This is where you need a third person on this, so then we could just cover all three, and then whatever happens, we can say we told you so.
Yeah, and then once you've said the Patriots will beat the Bills will beat the Patriots.
Oh, probably, and the Browns will probably win the game, and it'll be complete and utter chaos towards the last game of the season. But I wouldn't mind that either. That'd be fantastic because that makes the very last game matter to three teams in the one division. So that's great to see as well.
Yeah, I like the. I'm just wondering, they could easily actually finish all on 8 wins.
So what on earth happens then?
I don't know, and that's what I'm thinking.
No idea.
I think it just goes to head in the division then.
Oh wow,
something like that, and then
the Dolphins could come through.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow, that's
exactly.
Mad. That's really mad.
It's just utter madness. What could the permutations of each win or loss or something like that?
That's
but
crazy.
Tennessee should need to win one more. If they win one more, they're through. But even them, they can't stay on 8 wins to make sure. No. They need to win one more at least in the next 2 because they could be in the battle on 8 wins as well. So you could actually have 4 teams all on 8 wins.
That's mad. So to have our first season have that sort of wild card race is fantastic to see, I think. And we've got everything, haven't we? We've got the Cinderella story. We've got the team that has traded for the experienced quarterback, and the team that started the season strong and faded away and sort of making a bit of a comeback now. And then we've got a team that made the Tennessee made some really big moves to start the league off and have been up and down and are probably up at the moment. It's great. It's really great. And last game of the season, I think we're all going to be watching that. And if the CSFL was televised, I think there would probably be about a 6-game window screen going up because of the wild card games. That's crazy, absolutely crazy.
That would be actually not a bad idea, actually. If it comes down to that situation, having having 6 screens going and sims all at the same time, I think that could catch a lot of viewers because I think
maybe.
It'd be very nervous.
If people want to see that and they want to see the sim it and then play the recordings through on a stream, I'm sure we could work out a way to do that. And so I guess if people want to see that, then let Rizzo know because I'm sure he can work out a way to do it and we can organise that. The last game of the season, the craziness that could happen. I mean, I don't know. That has drained me. That's a crazy race in the AFC, and I mean we're going to be watching it for the last 2 games. That kind of brings us nicely on to our last bit of the show, really, and that is our, to quote our topic of choice that we've used here, and Josh's nickname that he's given it, Down in the Trenches. We're going to look at today another team in a little bit more detail, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that are 6-9. They're out of the playoffs now, so it's into next season now for them. But a team that I thought was of interest, and I chatted to you, Gilbert, before we came on about this, because I look at them on paper, and I was looking at the Seahawks and looking at the Chiefs, and talent-wise, I felt they were very, very similar. The Chiefs have probably some additional talent in some places, and the Seahawks have talent in other places. But a team that I felt, when you look at it on base of season, 6-9, they probably would have liked to have been in that wild card race still with a couple of games to go. I think that would have been a good season for them if they could have, been there right to the end of it. But they haven't. They've fallen away. And I'm interested to get your thoughts because, as I said, I feel they're very similar, sort of talent-wise, to the Seahawks. And to have you on the show, a team that's gone 10-4 so far, 11-4, sorry, not 10-4, 11-4 so far, with the Seahawks and the Chiefs. Interested to get your thoughts in terms of what you feel the Chiefs' makeup is, their strengths, weaknesses, and what you might do if this was your team for the off season into next season to take them from a 6-9 record to being a positive record and being in that playoff hunt next year.
Yeah, I'm just looking at their roster now. They have very similar to what my team is. But I think the difference here is their running core. Their running core, especially their two running backs, Charles and Jones, they're very solid. And I just think using them more in the running game because with I think their speed, his speed is 91, agility 86, is very solid. So I would utilize the running game more. The offensive line, looking at it, is solid as well. So they're actually opposite to my team. Is their offense is actually really strong in protecting Matt Cassell. So, and he's a very, and like in real life, he's a solid player as well. So they have a solid quarterback in regards to that. Changes. I would actually go for in free agency. What are that cap? 121. So they haven't got much cap room, to be honest. As well, heading into next season.
No, they haven't. That's true.
And that's going to be a bit of a problem.
I mean, they will have guys drop off. I mean, like everyone, they have a lot of one-year deals, but a lot of their core guys will still be around. So
yeah,
I mean, they've got a lot of their core guys are still quite young as well. So that's the positive, and they're on contracts for a couple of years.
Yeah, they're very similar to the Seahawks with that because I have the same thing where the young players are on longer term contracts, and I guess not worrying it for the next couple of years is a bonus. I would actually, they're very. Actually, I'll change my. They need someone at linebacker. I really do. Linebacker and defensive tackle. They're very, especially, their defensive back core is really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. So, as you said, in terms of offense, I think their offensive line and receivers and running backs and quarterback are all in very good place. I think, as you said, probably linebacker is a need to address. But I mean, cornerbacks, I think they might need to get another guy in there because they're obviously relying on Berry and Arenas as two options. But Bates probably is not going to be good enough. So that's probably another area they need to address. But yeah, as you said, linebacker's an interesting one because they've got talent there and they've got guys who are okay there. Probably they haven't got the depth or the elite talent to really drive that position forward. I think they've got Halley, who's is their best, and Vrabel, who are both solid in their own right. But you probably want to pair them with another guy, I think.
I reckon because it depends on on how they line up too. So if you have more linebackers, you need to have that depth at linebacker. Like I think I've got about 2 or 3 guys at linebacker at the moment that are solid. So I reckon they're missing just that one linebacker that is strong in tackling. I think that's one thing that is very important in a linebacker for me.
Yeah.
And having that intelligence as well, like that goes a long way of having a good linebacker is that intelligence, not giving away penalties and all this other stuff. which can hurt you.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, they're very quite similar actually.
They are. I mean, you mentioned defensive tackle as well as probably an issue, and it's probably fair to say that is. They've probably their weakest position on the defensive end is defensive tackle.
Yeah.
But given they've got their first round pick this year, and they've got all their other picks, I guess something that's hopefully they can address in the draft, probably given that their cap situation is quite tight.
Because I was thinking if their cap was all right, I would actually. There's going to be a lot of free agents at the end of this season. So, and then, yeah, if their cap situation was better, I would target those two areas, linebacker and defensive tackle, for a free agent. Yeah, but in saying that, you can also go to the draft and get especially if you've got your first round pick.
Yeah.
And it's going to be reasonably early too, I think. Top 15
It will be,
or something.
yeah, it will be, yeah. It'll be sort of middle to early first, I think, where they are at the minute.
Yeah. I don't think they need to change their, as I said before, I think they're just missing one receiver, I reckon. They just need one more solid receiver. And then they're pretty much all right then.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as you said, it's probably on the defensive end. They need to bring in some talent.
Yeah.
I think interesting to get your thoughts on. So, obviously there's some glaring needs on defense. On offense, whilst they've got some of the talent in place, you said the running core is really good. The receiver core is not too bad. They've got a couple of options there. Cassell is solid at quarterback. He's pretty good. But the performances haven't quite been there for the offense this year. If I go to the some of the rushing and passing stats, oh no, I'm going to team stats. Here we go. So if I go to the team stats in terms of looking at some of the rushing and passing stats, where am I looking at? I can't even find them on here. Where's Kansas? Oh, there we are. So rushing wise, they've been pretty solid, but given that core, for me, they're behind you in a lot of stats. So perhaps they're not necessarily running the ball as much as they should be, given what they've got there. And on the receiving end, they're pretty awful. And it kind of shows when I think Cassell's got, he's played 15 games and he's got like 11 interceptions. So do you think there's a strategy point there on offense that they need to address?
Yeah, I think it's more strategy-wise, and I just noticed that, and I think I mentioned it earlier. I think actually, if I was the Kansas City GM, I would actually run the ball more, and utilize their running backs more. I think if you run the football a lot, and then it will open up the wide receivers as well later in the game, and then that's when you can better utilize Matt Cassell's ability, because I'm actually quite surprised that they're actually behind me in rushing stats.
Yeah, they
I'm
are.
really surprised by that.
Given they've got probably one of the best running backs in the league in Charles, and a very good second option in Jones, it's surprising. It did surprise me when I looked at it, and I thought, for me, I would just run the ball 95% of the time with that core, like you said, to free Cassell up. It doesn't look like it's quite happened, but I mean, let me just throw this at you. So, in terms of Charles and his stats, when I looked at it earlier, he's averaging 18 yards an attempt, basically, which is incredible. So, I mean, I guess, would you, if you had this team, obviously it's slightly different to the Seahawks in this aspect, but would you just try and build your offense around that running game?
Oh yeah, I would. I would definitely build my offense around that running game, because that is solid, and he's got a solid backup, and you can actually half each in regards to the time that they've been given, because both of them are solid enough to run the ball. It's sort of like the Patriots. of what they do with in real life Patriots, what
Yeah.
they do with their running backs is to utilize them at the start, and then later in the game, bring in their receiving core. And I got a feeling this is probably kind of the same because they have options in receiving as well. So you've got Moe Aki, and then you've got Chambers, and then Bow. They're three solid options at wide receiver and tight end as well. So, and then you got Charles, and then Jones running the ball, and they can catch as well. So I would build my game by running the ball more, and
Yeah. Yeah.
because they have speed as well, running on the outside as well, more so than the inside, like some teams tend to do. So, and that's when you can actually stretch the opposition more, and you can widen the pitch per se. Yeah. So
Yeah. So
if I was running,
I guess
yeah,
what you're kind of summarizing there is it's not necessarily any need to panic if you're the Kansas GM. It's the pieces are all there for you to build a really good playoff contending team.
yeah,
Probably need to address some of the defensive holes that are missing that I'm sure he'll be aware of. And
yeah,
it's probably a case of a slight strategy change on offense, I think is what you're saying, rather than
yeah.
whole host of changes there. We'll probably turn this team around next year.
I think looking at this team, and the team will be still together next season, I would put them in a playoff situation next season quite easily. They can turn this around if all those pieces, all they plug all those holes. They'll be like the Seahawks,
They'll
and
be
then the
like the
right,
Seahawks.
yeah, quite,
That's a huge statement. So you basically you're saying that this team could transition around from being a team that's not in the playoffs to a team that could potentially win their division.
yeah, quite easily. They, yeah, I would think so
No,
because where are they?
I mean, they've got the Chargers are 10-4 this year, then the Broncos, and then the Chiefs. I mean, they're both on the same record. Then you've got the Raiders, who
Yeah,
are still talent building, really. So yeah, I mean, the team they would have to beat is the Chargers.
yep,
It's a tough ask, I guess, given that they're doing really well this year.
yeah.
But yeah, interesting to hear your thoughts that
Mm.
you feel the turnaround is fair. I mean, from listening to you, it seems fairly straightforward for them.
Yeah, like if they run the ball more, utilize their receiving core and spread it, not just to one receiver, but having multiple targets is handy. Yeah, and because I think if they run the ball more, the defense will get tired, and you can pass it later on in the game if you need be. Because I built like in having Matt Cassell in quarterback. I mean, he hasn't performed this season, obviously, but you never know next season. He
He's
may,
not,
may
yeah,
he may set the world on fire. Like he might be the Matt Hasselbeck,
yeah. He
which is
might be he'll
very,
be another year older as well, which is important for a quarterback as well. He's quite young, so
yeah,
another year stats will increase probably if he gets a good training camp. So yeah,
yeah, and I think that's probably why I said that too as well, because Matt Hasselbeck is old. So sorry to say, but Matt Cassell is the young. Still pretty young and still developing. So yeah, and like they're very similar to what the Seahawks are, but
Mm,
on the offensive line, on the offense more.
yeah, yeah.
So, but if they plug those holes in defense, I mean, they can be solid. They can be a solid team, which quite easily um, win their division if like because I think next season will probably be out of the Chiefs and Chargers
Mm,
for that season. So I mean for that
yeah.
division quite easily.
Well, you heard it here first. Next season, the Chiefs are going to be division contenders in the American West. turning it around from the season with a couple of good draft picks and a couple of changes. Really, is what Gilbert's saying could happen. They could be the Seattle Seahawks of the AFC, which would be a frightening prospect, I think, for any GM, for any GM watching. So, yeah, brilliant. Gilbert, it's been great to have you on. Interested to get your thoughts in terms of the wild cards and in terms of the Kansas City Chiefs. And best of luck with the playoffs. It's going to be fascinating to watch and see how you get on. And hopefully you could cause a couple of upsets. And who knows, you might be sitting here in a few weeks' time in the first ever CSFL championship game. Who knows? But we'll follow your season as long as it goes. And best of luck for the playoffs.
No worries. Thanks for having me on. It's been a blast.